Hello, and welcome back to RevoluGM Games, where I'm just chopping here quickly because I did a cool thing. Or at least I think I did a cool thing. Um, I think it's cool. And I figured I'd share it on here because I'm quite happy with it. I have a lot of very talented friends who do a lot of very interesting things in their spare time. And so often birthday presents, Christmas presents, and stuff can be quite unique. One of them does a lot of painting. They paint little ducks and dice and things like that. So I've got a couple of Demon Slayer style rubber ducks, which are very cool. One of them does crochet and crocheted dice bags for everyone. Another of them binds books, so we've got some book binding. My partner did all the art for this, and is also an amazing chef and baker, so we get all sorts of lovely food, and chocolates and stuff like that. So, lots of very, very talented people, and it's always got me to thinking, what can I actually do? That's just kind of just better than just spending money, because I mean, a thoughtful gift's great, obviously, and I think I'm pretty good with those. And occasionally I've commissioned artwork of some of their characters from one of my games that we've had them in quite a while, which has been a lot of fun to work on and to get. But that's still that's still just me commissioning other people to do it. Is there something I could do myself that could entertain that similar, this is something that I've made. And I was trying to think about it, I was like, well, what can I actually do that lends itself to the situation, and I was like, well, I could run a game. I've done that before for people's birthdays and stuff. I still owe one of my friends a Christmas present, called a Cthulhu game, which I will manage eventually to do, but I was like, what's something I could do that was more tangible? And then I thought about it. What if I created like a dungeon, like a single dungeon level, with like a dungeon crawl or something, based on either, depending on how well I know that person's experiences, or their like players' experiences, characters' experiences, funny moments, iconic moments, things like that. From their past, and put that into like a little dungeon, and then you can send it to them or print it out, put it on a poster, something like that, and then they've got that thing which they can just have somewhere. It's kind of a cool piece of art that's got something more to it. So I did this for the first time. I did this for one of our friends whose birthday is on May the 4th. Lucky them. But I play in one of the games with them, so I know one of their characters quite well, and I know that they have two other characters, so I consulted a couple of other friends about those characters. One of them is the DM of that game, and was like, well, I can't give you too much because a lot of it's spoilery, so I only got a little bit for them, but I got quite a lot of detail from my other friend about their other character, who's like in a kind of, I think it's like a kind of Viking-y game. They're not Vikings, but kind of that aesthetic and stuff. And so I got all sorts of information from that. Things like, let me give you an example. I know that one of the characters' boyfriends was a drow, that their dad was a god of secrets who's just not a great guy. Spellcasting focuses a dagger that they once accidentally yeeted, as they put it, into the ocean. They have a pet crab called Krabby that sometimes hides in this character's hair. I saw a town between two rivers. He once died twice fighting a bone dragon. They met another one of the characters when they saved them from a pack of wolves and hid in a tree together. They saved a walrus person and a reindeer person, and followed by ravens all the time. And then the other characters, like, is, Clerk of the Raven Queen, so we've got a big raven theme going on. They kind of love ravens. And they really don't like Vecna stuff, and they have a dagger of venom. And they've recently got a ring linking them to the magic of the Raven Queen. That's about all I got for that, because again, a lot of it's spoilery for them, but it does still give me some interesting concepts to look at. And then the final character, who I already know stuff about, is they're a changeling guardian of the Cloven Vale in the Feywild. So lots of elemental energy there, and a connection to the Shadowfell. Lots of kind of magic books and quills, library-ish kind of stuff. They're wizard, and all of that kind of thing. So I went through a lot of those kind of points, and made this, which I'll be showing you now. The Raven's Roost. Again, it's a dungeon. Why are the ravens roosting there? Well, that's a great question. And just some ties in there to the Raven Queen, and maybe that's right. But there are also ravens there too. So the walls are kind of these ornately sculpted, carved dark stone walls, tree roots piercing through the walls in some places, but the carvings heavily feature both smoke motifs and ravens, and the ravens always kind of appear to be watching wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And actually, a note that I've got on my other page with all my notes is that the sculptured ravens actually follow the party around. It's the same group. And if you've got particularly perceptive players, they might notice that these things are actually following them, which I think is a fun little detail that relates to one of those characters there. But other things, like the first room that they enter before they can go anywhere else, they get attacked by these spectral wolves. There's a stone tree with ravens on it in the middle, and if they climb that, the wolves will just dissipate. It solves the puzzle. And then it kind of splits off into two directions, but there's a hidden third path, which you get by dropping a dagger, a specific dagger, into a font of seawater, referencing that time that they threw their dagger into the ocean. But that dagger you can only get by going down a different path, where there are two shrines, one to the Raven Queen, which is a safe place that grants you some temporary hit points, and is safe from wandering monsters and such, and does offer a ring that will connect you in some respect to the Raven Queen, much like that other ring does. And if you throw this into some kind of a dungeon, not into some kind of, well, if you're going to throw into a dungeon or into a larger game, you've got a plot hook on that right there. And then there's another shrine next to it, Vecna, which is much more in disrepair and full of skulls and bones, which holds a key in its hand. But if you take the key, which it will try and convince you to do, kind of One Ring style, the eye of Vecna is in the hand underneath it, and that will cause a bunch of flame skulls to rise up from the skulls and bones around and attack, but also open that door at the end, the secret wall there, which is number 9, which does have a big old key symbol on it to make it a little bit more obvious. And behind that there was a dagger of venom, like we said one of them has, and also this ornate looking dagger that you can use to open that secret path. Then up to the north you've got this door that's got this unseelie Elvish writing on it, which people can probably read Elvish, but still, and it talks about using the elements to open it. And then it's got these 4 symbols, which are the alchemical symbols for fire, water, earth, air. It's not that order, but it's those symbols. And then there's a library next door, which has some scrolls of some things pertaining to the Raven Queen and some ancient god of secrets, but there's no name on that. There's a scroll of like gust in there, which you can use to blast air at the door if you don't have anything for that. It's got an alchemy book. It's got a dictionary of Elvish. You can translate all of the stuff on the door as well, and a little pamphlet on secret rooms and how sometimes you just need to ask them to open, and they will. And if you do that in this room, there's a secret one that'll open, which has another spell book in and a couple more scrolls. They'll be useful. And then beyond that door, if you hit it with the right things, then all the things can be found in the room. You've got that font of water, which has water in it. There's a tree, like I said, in the center that's made of stone, but there is earth around its bottom. And there is also ever-burning torch, which counts as fire in that previous corridor where the shrines are. So along with this gust scroll, you've got everything you need to be able to open that door. And then beyond that, you roll a d4 to see what element is currently affecting this kind of room, which is full of plants and some larger trees that are kind of like this clone veil area where they affect with the elements. Yeah, they can, if it's water, then there's a bit of like everything's slightly flooded, makes it difficult terrain. If it's fire, it's very hot, so getting in there you've got to make a con save or you'll gain one level of exhaustion. Dust makes it very hard to see, and the other one, air, it's hard to move. So you want to make athletics checks to kind of move about as much because there's a lot of air buffeting you. Not very high check, but it's potentially more tricky, especially for wizards and lower strength builds, characters, that kind of thing. And then it also summon an elemental for you to deal with while you're in there based on the same element, which is fun. And then getting on from there, there's another little riddle in Elvish on the final door, which talks about you cannot proceed in a path of shadow if you're in light, and you've got to turn off all your lights to get this door to open. You turn them all off and then turn them back on again, and the door will be open. And this leads to a path to the Shadowfell on like a kind of roller coastery rail car mine shaft ride kind of thing. They do work with theme parks, so getting that in there a little bit seemed appropriate, and that's kind of another plot hook. You've got a roller coaster to the Shadowfell or something in the top there, which could be potentially useful for something down the road. And then finally you've got this Shadowfell, not Shadowfell, you've got this secret third path, which pertains to the character that I got the most information about, which I already used in the main room, and also that secret door, which also had the two lover characters in the relationship, the Drow and the Asimar, kind of like on that wall, like a fresco there, rather than it just being the same pattern everywhere else, which does draw attention to it as being different. But yeah, then beyond that room, you've got a room full of chests. It's got two ravens and then a white raven. The white raven was a symbol of that god of secrets, because he had a cult of the white raven, I think is how it was, but they stole all his money. So obviously that chest hasn't got any money in it because they stole it, as it were. But the party first met in this town that was invaded by a group of giants who came from boats and brought a fog that stopped over breathing. So that's actually a trap in that room, where if you open this middle chest, it releases this fog, which can potentially cause problems, be detrimental to people. And then there's a final room, final kind of bigger boss, where you go in and there's this huge, dragon on the ceiling. This bone dragon, also the skeleton of a dragon, so kind of applicable to a bone dragon. And there's two black puddings on the floor. But they've got this. They share this large kind of red eye, because one of them has. I forgot to mention that, but this character I know a lot about has an eye, a fake eye that is kind of red and can be used to cast counterspell. So these two black puddings share this counterspell eye between them. It can kind of pop between one and the other. Two of them representing the two times they died to a bone dragon. And there's a little altar nearby which has this crab statue which you can use to summon a spectral giant crab, like Krabby. And then if you defeat all of that, you've got this final room which has two small waterfalls on either side referencing their initial town. There's a picture of the small town in between, and on its tail we've got a couple of statues worth quite a lot of gold of a walrus and of a reindeer. One's made of gold, one's made of, I think, jade. And that's kind of the vibe of the place. I've gone through most of it. Again, like roughly scaled level wise, for level 4, 5 kind of level 4 players, with 4 you might be a bit careful with those flame skulls and the two black puddings there, but I've not play tested it because it's primarily not to be ran. Really, it's just kind of a cool piece with a bunch of hidden Easter eggs for for the person to know if they remember their character well enough. I know some people maybe wouldn't, but I know a lot of people, like this person probably would. But I did kind of go through it and realise that, no, I could probably run this, so that might happen. I have mentioned that I have something I can potentially run. But yeah, and I've got them, printed so that you can they can be displayed. I was initially planning on doing it all-on-one kind of big poster, do an A3, something, but it wound out easier to just do one in A4 of the map and the other in A4 of the of all the things on the map. And that was still a bit of a squish, still to be a bit careful, but managed to get it all in the end. And yeah, I used Dungeon School to make this map, but you could always draw it yourself, and I'm sure there's other tools out there for it as well. They're partnered with Roll20 now, I think, as well, which is very useful if you use that. It's a great little product. I'll link that down below. Yeah, I just thought this was pretty cool. It's going to take me a bit to get the next weekend one-shots out, so I figured I could put this up just to showcase something that I've been doing that's been a lot of fun and something that's more unique to me. But if you want it, if you want to try this idea yourself, by all means go for it and let me know what you do. Yeah, I might link to these just like dungeon down below. Again, I don't know if it's play tested or it's not play tested or anything. I don't know how viable it really is. But if anyone wants it, I can certainly connect it. I don't think they'll mind that much. The person who made it for. Yeah, that's all really. I just thought this was a cool idea that I would share. Hope everyone's doing well. And I'll see you in the next video, whenever they might be. Until then, goodbye.